Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David, with me and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
What's the crack, David?
Not too much. We're here for a very special episode. We're doing something that we've not really done too many times, but we're going to talk about a double feature. We're going to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and then we're going to take a break and then we're going to talk about Joyride, which is a new comedy movie that just came out.
I wonder if our listeners are going to argue to us, like, why didn't we do this for Barbenheimer?
Yeah, I could see that, but I felt like Barbie and Oppenheimer, there was a lot to talk about in both of them, whereas with this one, there maybe isn't as much to talk about as those two movies, but we still wanted to shine a spotlight on both of them because we both really enjoyed them for different reasons. Like, they are very different movies in terms of one is an animated movie and the other one is a raunchy adult sex comedy.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually glad with this combination of the double feature.
Mm-hmm. So if you're under the age of 18 and you listen to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles part, awesome. Just turn it off as soon as we start talking about Joyride because it's not appropriate. So, and if you're an adult, you can skip right on somewhere in the middle there. And if you don't want to hear about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you can just listen to the raunchy sex comedy bit.
Well, I want to listen to the TMNT stuff.
Man, we saw both of them, so we obviously wanted to hear about both. So we'll jump right into it, I suppose. We saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which was a new animated film produced by Seth Rogen.
I think Evan Goldberg was involved in that as well. Mm-hmm. He works with him a lot.
Yeah, they work a lot on... a lot of Seth's stuff, kind of like Pineapple Express and Superbad, and This Is the End. Like, they're kind of like a duo, but definitely, you know, Seth in front of the camera and Evan Goldberg is the producer, writer, kind of behind the scenes bit.
Yeah, and if not, sometimes Seth also writes a lot of his material and produces, and he'll often maybe give himself a supporting role. So think of him and his commitment contribution to Invincible and The Boys. So, like, Seth Rogen gives himself a supporting character to voice in the Invincible, and finally, after 3 seasons, he's given himself a cameo in The Boys. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we've been waiting for that. So he's, for a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to TV shows or animation, he likes to be more creative from behind the camera. You know, he's exceeding very well these days, Seth Rogen, and he's definitely one I pay attention to. He's quite successful. I'm not annoyed from him. Like, you know, it's not like his presence in movies or TV is like overbearing or just too much of a boggle. Like, I think he's quite funny and can be very good in dramatic roles.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. He's very much like, he has his hands in a lot of pies, but he's gone past that point now where he's trying to make a name for himself. He's very much, like, popular and most people would know him. So it's like, okay, now I can work on the things that I really like and the things that I enjoy. Kind of well-known stuff like The Boys. Well, I suppose The Boys wasn't really all that well-known until now, until the Amazon show. But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think it was... I think it was advertised, or when it was first announced, it was like from permanent teenager Seth Rogen. Like, it's something that he's always liked, is the Ninja Turtles. And then Invincible and The Boys, like, you can see that he definitely has a passion for it, and so you kind of nearly associate his name with, oh, he really likes this, so he's going to make it good. The same way I think that, you know, either of us, if I'm sure there's, between the two of us, there'd be certain IPs that if we were able to work on in a producer role, we'd be like, no, I'm really passionate about this. This isn't about making money. This is about making the best product possible. And I think that's maybe him and the way he approaches things now.
That is a fantasy I would love to explore. And like, if you were to tell me and the viewers something you were passionate about that you'd love to get your hands on producing and give yourself maybe a supporting role, and I would like to do the same. But we'll save that for another time, mm-hmm. You know.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the end of the episode. It's our question for the end of the episode. You come up with something, I'll come up with something, and we'll answer it at the end. What would you like to work on in a senior role, I suppose, that you would have a lot of influence over?
Yeah, You can give yourself a supporting cameo role or a voice role, like a performance role, but this is something that you are more heavily involved from behind the camera and getting it made and released. So I think we'll maybe get into TMNT Mutant Mayhem. Dave, I have a question. I don't know if you're able to shine light on, but when I first read about this movie, I wasn't really all that interested, mostly because I noticed that turtles are voiced by non-well-known actors who are literally still teenagers, young adults, or children, and all the big named stars are all in supporting roles. And I thought maybe, is this like a continuation or a reboot from a Nickelodeon TV show that airs on TV that only children will see, therefore me and you and all of our listeners would not have seen, really?
No, it's not. The Ninja Turtles have gone through, I think, a lot of different iterations. I think a lot of people, well, I know myself, when I think of them, I do think of the 1980s/90s TV show. I think it's the most well-known version of them. And then, obviously, over the course of the years, there's been reboots and, Michael Bay films and different, cartoons and stuff like that. But as far as I'm aware, this is like a complete new take on them. When I say new take, I mean new art style, new cast, new production. It's not related to any kind of TV show or any existing version of the Turtles. So this is just completely new.
What I meant by that is like what Penguins of Madagascar, the movie, was to the franchise when we already had a Nickelodeon TV show, I believe it was Nickelodeon, that was also Penguins of Madagascar, but it was not tied to it. That's what I meant, was this like sort of continued but rebooted in a way. Specifically in the Mutant Mayhem title.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's standing on its own, and I know exactly what you mean. Like, was it a TV show that leads up into a movie, kind of, I suppose, in the reverse with like Jimmy Neutron and how that was in a TV series after it. But no, this is it's all its own thing. It's all its own new kind of iteration of the Turtles. I don't think you could get the voice cast. Like, I know obviously you were saying there with the four main Turtles being relatively unknowns, but the rest of the cast are like, it's a top tier cast. Like, if I run through it here, you have Ayo Edebiri, Maya Rudolph, John Cena, Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Giancarlo Esposito, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, Paul Rudd, Post Malone, Hannibal Buress. Like, there is a lot of big names on there, and the fact that none of them are playing the titular Ninja Turtles, it kind of goes to show you that maybe Seth Rogen, was kind of trying to give the Turtles kind of their own lease on life, their own introduction, and giving these four kids, a chance to break into the industry. I voiced one of the Ninja Turtles in, I essentially saying like, I worked with John Cena, Seth Rogen, Giancarlo Esposito, Jackie Chan, to these newcomers, giving them the chance to kind of work with these people, and then maybe they'll get famous enough, and then they're the namesakes on the sequel.
Yeah, remember when I think it was Alan Richardson and Johnny Knoxville voiced Ninja Turtles in the Bay movies, but that just pretty much turned into what the Transformers franchise ended up being, minus a couple of mediocre sequels.
See,
because the first one was good, and then the second one was like, I'm over it already. Thus, we have now a reboot.
See, in a lot of like animated mediums, a lot of the time you'll get very well-known actors voicing roles as opposed to voice actors. And I think that a lot of the time you're only kind of casting those people because they're big names. As opposed to, okay, who actually fits the role. Because oftentimes you'll, I think, watch an animated movie and you're nearly distracted by the actor's voice. If they've got a very prominent voice, you'd be kind of nearly distracted by it, and you're thinking, oh, that actor is voicing that role as opposed to that character. I think that in this one, Seth Rogen has a very, very distinctive voice. He's got a very distinctive laugh as well. So to combat that, he is a supporting actor. He's in a supporting role. He plays Bebop. I was trying to think there, was he Bebop or Rocksteady? But he is a very minor role in it. Like, he has like only a handful of lines really. And he makes sure that the actual titular heroes, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, are voiced by actors who fit the roles. And I think that is just a much better kind of practice to do.
Well, speaking of all those voice work, David, I'd like to lean into the voice cast and start it with the one who voices Splinter, Jackie Chan. Out of all the voices in this movie, I was thinking, oh, so that's who this actor is voicing and this who that actor is voicing. But when it comes to Splinter, I didn't hear Jackie Chan. All I could hear is Splinter and the character he was in this movie. He was quite, actually, really funny. With the art style of the animation combined, it made it more easier for me to not think this is Jackie Chan, action icon from many decades. This is Splinter. And I think this might have been, not that I'm saying I've watched so many iterations of TMNT, but this is probably the best I've seen Splinter as a father and a teacher. And as someone like who is capable of being the protector of his sons. And I really liked Splinter in this. I thought his story was great. I thought the scene where he tries to bring the human world to the boys, having the poster cards and the billboards of the 3 Chris's, minus one Chris who was missing. Hemsworth. Well, why was Hemsworth not there? I don't know why. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought like that was like that reminds me of some scenes where this mentor or parent or parental figure means so well that you feel like that, but it's still not right because it's not enough, and it's not enough for the protagonist, but you can still see like that's sweet, because I'm sure that happens to us growing up when like our parents try to do something nice, and even though we can see what they're doing, it's still not enough. But yeah, Jackie Chan, Splinter, didn't hear him. But to go on to Bebop, voiced by Seth Rogen, I kind of heard Seth Rogen, but he had little to no lines at all. So that was enough for me to think, oh cool, yeah, Bebop. And John Cena voiced Rocksteady. And I thought, when they release character posters, they'll say the name of the character or they'll say the name of the actor as the character. So like Seth Rogen as Bebop, John Cena as Rocksteady. For some reason, and I never knew this as a non-TMNT fan, for some reason, when I saw Bebop and Rocksteady introduced into the Michael Bay TMNT movies, they're just my favourite characters now. Why? I don't know, because they're silly or they're stupid, or just for the fact that one's a ginormous warthog pig and the other is an armoured rhinoceros. Like, I like it. Riding on the bikes, being many different versions, not being the protagonist, so to speak, like sort of like anti-heroes or villains that will always see to crime another day. They weren't so much of a standout in this movie, given the movie is titled Mutant Mayhem. I was looking forward to seeing them, but the mutants in this movie, there was 10 of them, and I forget a lot of their names. Like Post Malone voiced one, and he was annoying. Who voices another one? Hannibal Burgess, he voices another one, and it's just forgettable. There was a crocodile voice by Rose Byrne, so Seth Rogen got her in this. So aside from that, and I'm saying that's Bebop from Rocksteady took a real back seat in this. So when it comes to the mutants who are not the Turtles, the only two standouts really is, of course, Ice Cube as Superfly. We can get to him in a minute. But also Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko. Like, Mondo Gecko was the type of mutant who, oh, cool, man, yeah, cowabunga and all that crack. Like he could sympathize and have good banter with the turtles as if he was one of their own. And he's saying, "Not cool, bro." You know, like he definitely fits right in. He's the most adaptable. And Superfly as the villain, you know, I think I read that he was originally conceived to be Baxter Stockton, but
Yeah.
I think to do with the rights with Disney and all that jazz, I don't know, there's something to do with the rights issue, because they did have Baxter Stockton in this, voiced by Giancarlo Esposito, who was never in the movie after the opening, so whether he died or whether they're bringing him back, I don't know. But Baxter Stockton is supposed to be a mutant who turns into a human who turns into a mutant butterfly. So, to accommodate the rights and the deals with corporate conglomerate, they just created Superfly, who I don't think is actually an original character from the source material. He was made for this movie. So Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube, likable. He's the type of villain who our protagonists see and think, oh no, he's cool, yeah, he's one of us and we're one of him. And well, he sees about the narrative and the plot points in a more violent way, so we have to disagree with him. And I suppose, like, I don't want to delve into the story because at the end of the day it is a children's movie, so I don't know, feel like I was all on board with him just turning against his family with the mutants because they all had a disagreement. So we're like, oh yeah, we don't like you now, and then you die at the end and no one gives a second thought. I don't think he should have died. I thought maybe he should have come around, or maybe he should have been, I don't know, imprisoned for and to come back for a sequel. But I'm not gonna delve into that at all. Like, that's probably the last I'll talk about that, because it's just a children's movie, and I had a fun time in this. It was fine. It wasn't. I was happy to see it.
Yeah, and by children's movie, like, obviously we kind of mean it's more of an IP geared towards kids, because
Yes.
like the animation in this is fantastic as well. It's very much, you can see it's inspired by the Spider-Verse films, and then the most recent Puss in Boots movie kind of was in a similar vein, I suppose, in a way. But the animation in it was great. It was a refreshing take on the Turtles, I suppose, and a refreshing just way of perceiving animation.
There would still have squiggly lines in part of the animation. The explosions would be they'd look like they're like not finished, but it's purposely done that way. The frame rate might be off at some points, and then there might be too much on it. Like, I remember there was actually a couple of fun sequences, and the animation really plays a key part in this. Was when the turtles go to like search for Superfly, and they show us in a montage some good music in the background, 4 like different scenes cutting back together, and they'll be like match cutting to their let's call it choreography in fighting. And so it would be it was just a great job in match cutting and jump cutting to the scene. It was quite entertaining.
I'm almost certain that was an Old Boy reference. I think that
Really?
happens in Old Boy as well, but it was still enjoyable here, and I was like, okay, this is good. And you're seeing obviously one turtle do something, and then the match cut is on a different one of the other brothers doing something else. So even though it was an homage to that, it was still done effectively and creatively.
Yeah, and then there was another an action sequence to do with a chase when the turtles are driving a van, and they kick the mutants out, and like all of them are chasing them. And I think, what was the song that was playing in the background?
Oh, it was What's Going On?
Yeah, that song. I love that song, but it was like it was like a different version of it, but a version suitable to the scene. And I really like that sequence quite a bit. Seeing all the mutants in action, and yeah, I like that scene. It was real good fun, and it was a good joy to see this movie and see the scenes unfold. And then setting up a couple of jokes that are like so ridiculous, only to then pay it off, like being milked for their blood when and later. And not only that, they top it up again by Splinter putting out, doesn't that say milk machine, but it says mech. Milk, I think, not milk, melk, MELK or something like that. But like it's good for creators when writing this stuff to just double down on jokes in a very fun way. It's very much Seth Rogen, and yeah, I thought that was quite fun.
Mm-hmm. And you can feel Seth Rogen's kind of stamp on some of the comedy as well, because they don't shy away from showing you kind of nearly disgusting things as well, like teenage boy humor. Like specifically with April when she's on TV, and they keep referencing like, oh, that she was puke girl, and then we get a flashback, and you think, oh, it's going to cut away here now, but it's like a 30-second scene of her just getting sick all over the set, and you're like, okay, I get it. Cut away, please.
And then it doubles down on it again at the end when she's like, you know, she swallows her pride, she swallows the puke, and no, she's got this, she's not got the stage right, she's able to broadcast the actual facts of the story, and like it's a good moment, you know, it's a build up, you know, I don't know, some people might be getting goosebumps, and then all of a sudden she pukes anyway, so like it's good humor, it's very good. Dave, I have a question for you. Who's your favorite turtle?
Personally, I've always really liked Mikey. I just thought he was always the funnest. In this one, they're all very distinctively different. That was always something that you do need to do, because they are all turtles. They all do look the same. And I think that that's the point, because in the original comics, they all looked the same, and they all actually had red bandanas. The only way to differentiate who it was by their weapons. So when
that's not good enough.
No, obviously when it translated to a kid's cartoon, they changed it to the color combination, so you kind of knew, you know, as a kid you associate the colors with the characters. And I think they did a good job in this one of differentiating them personality wise. Again, but they still felt like really. Like it was almost hard to differentiate them. Like if you took off their masks, you wouldn't know exactly who it was, unless you were listening to them, you know, and got to know, or got, you know, realize who it was that was speaking, because they all very much are different, between Leo being like kind of nervous, I suppose, and Donnie, who's tech, you know, he's a genius. Raph is kind of like the, you know, the hype man, I suppose, and then Mikey's just like a goofball. So they're all very different, but Mikey's my guy. I gotta say, he's my guy every time.
I actually thought in this one, if without the masks, they could actually be easily identifiable. Mikey was, I don't know, maybe if it was Mikey or Donnie who was actually the shortest.
They were all like a little bit different than that, yeah. Short, like I think Raph was a little bit broader, because I think in one of the cartoons, Raph is huge, and like he's really differentiated, but I think that they all had little tiny differences, like height wise or their shoulder widths and stuff, but I think you would need to be really conscious about who was what height and all if you were trying to do it like that.
I think my favourite turtle, and as a non-TMNT fan who's been exposed to very little iterations, I think Raphael's my favourite. Mm-hmm. Just because of his love of violence and his rage issues and his incompetence to think before acting. So I don't know, I think that's funny. So yeah, Raphael.
One thing I did like about Raph in this one is that he in other iterations he very much wants to be the leader. He thinks that Leo shouldn't be the leader. And so they always tend to have kind of arguments about that and falling out and stuff. But I was glad to see that wasn't a part of this one, because I was fine with it, because I've seen that one done. I've seen that storyline done, you know, a few times in terms of the old cartoons, and then I think the animated movie from 2007 was on it as well, and then the Michael Bay films, I'm sure it was touched on there as well. But I was glad to see they have that moment where Leo kind of tells them. It's the inspiring bit towards the end. Obviously, we're not going to go too much into the plot and stuff, but he does kind of rouse the team together. And I think Raph turns to him and says, "Oh, you actually kind of sounded like a leader there." Do you know, like you know, hyping him up a little bit. So, I think we both would give the Turtles an approval rating. We say, yeah, go see it. We obviously don't want to talk on it too long, but before we jump into Joyride, will we jump into some flashbacks?
Let's do some flashbacks.
Laura, if you would mind, could you play that jingle for us? Thank you, Laura. Okay, so I've got some flashbacks for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you would like to hear them.
Shoot.
So, flashback number 1. In contrast to the norm for animation, the cast recorded their voices together in groups rather than independently from one another. A single recording session could include up to 7 actors. This environment allowed for the cast to play off each other, as well as employ a lot of improvisation in their performances.
That's actually quite interesting, and I like to see that sometimes. Sometimes we get some movies and some projects to incorporate that, as opposed to just having individuals one-on-one. So for example, I think Toy Story would often just have them individual. Let's say The Little Mermaid, the live action remake, they had David Diggs, Aquafina, and Jacob Tremblay voice Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder, like when they had especially scenes together. So it's nice to see that. And it's up to 7 actors, so like, yeah, the 4 lads they could have had scenes they could have been in the same room as the Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Like, I'd say anytime that the 4 main turtles were present in a scene, they were probably with the others as well. So I'd say that they were kind of must-haves. But you could also kind of tell that there were a lot of scenes that had maybe even all 4 of them talking at once, and you couldn't quite make out what any one of them were saying. So you could see that like 4 teenagers kind of, in a room together, and they're all just trying to, get something out, not even a line, but an improvisation out. So look, come here, it worked, and I think that it probably brings a lot of energy as well. I'm sure that you can only get so much from being sat in a room by yourself, as opposed to having someone or something to bounce off of. So, fair play. And then flashback number 2 is that this one is more kind of generally towards the turtles as a grouping, as opposed to the movie itself. But this is about their individual weapons. So, did you know that their weapons actually kind of reflect their personalities? And it's done so that Master Splinter intentionally gives them these weapons to teach them all lessons. So I'll run through them all very quickly. So Raphael is the most hot-headed and violent of the turtles, so he wields sais, and they're traditionally a defensive weapon used for peacekeeping. This is to teach him patience and discipline. Michelangelo is the most scatterbrained and playful of the turtles, and he wields nunchucks that are a weapon infamous for their complexity and ease of injuring the user. So this is kind of to teach him focus and not to take the combat lightly. Donatello is the most intelligent and tech-savvy of the turtles, and he wields a simple wooden staff. This is to teach him creativity and to not be reliant on his technology. And then Leo is the most ethical of the turtles, and he wields katanas, which are actually the only bladed weapons of the 4, and the most lethal. So this is to teach him that ultimately, despite his ideals, he may be forced to take lives, protect people, and must never fight battles needlessly.
I wonder if this movie, or at least this iteration of the franchise, will touch base on that, because I think that is quite fascinating, and it is a great potential for a plot point to incorporate in a movie to inform general audiences who don't know this already. That's quite interesting. Like I already know in this movie, Donnie kept on referring to his weapon, my stick. You got a stick? That's my stick, like, not my stick, I thought it was quite funny. That's a good factor, David. Actually, I never knew that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, kind of when it's spelled out for you like that, you're like, oh wow, yeah, I didn't realize that, and I would actually like to see that as a plot point going forward of, like, not even like a major plot point, but an explanation of that in the movies as why Splinter chose these weapons for them, because he could have easily given them all katanas,
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
An overlaying theme would be nice,
Yeah.
To end up for it.
And then, did you know that, this is actually flashback number 3. I was going to jump right into it without saying it. But flashback number 3, did you know that the Ninja Turtles are actually a parody of Daredevil? So,
what?
Initially when Daredevil came out, he was obviously hit by the canister in the eyes with the radioactive sludge that made him blind and gave him his superpowers. But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when they were conceived in their first comic book, the vat of radioactive ooze that hits him in the eyes, hits Daredevil in the eyes, rolls down into the sewers, and that is the ooze that actually gives the Turtles their powers and, create them into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's also the fact that Daredevil's master, the guy that teaches him, is Stick, and the guy that teaches the Turtles is Splinter, so you get a splinter from a stick. And then the Turtles fight the Foot Clan, and Daredevil fights the Hand. So they're just like little slight kind of variations of it, and I think that that's very funny that someone was like, oh, I'm going to take Daredevil, I'm just going to tweak it a little bit and get my, Ninja Turtles.
Oh, I get it.
So yeah, that ends our segment on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the flashbacks regarding them. Do you want to maybe roll into some flashbacks for Joyride while we're here?
Yeah, I don't want to work Laura too much today. I think we'll just roll straight into some flashbacks I have for our second movie for this episode, in Joyride. Dave, I'm going to be very quick with this first flashback. Flashback 1.1. Did you know that Joyride was not the original title for its movie?
No, what was it?
Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Excuse me, listeners, for cursing. The original title for Joyride was Joy Fuck Club.
That's just kind of ridiculous. But then again, like, Joyride, it really doesn't have anything to do with the movie. It's just a title. It doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, I think, of course, distributors didn't really want that title associated with this big, well, not huge budget, blockbuster movie, but I don't think they don't want that displayed in cinemas. No one ever really wants the curse word put on their movies.
I can't see that on the side of a bus driving down Dublin. Yeah,
but the title really did suit it quite well for the tone of the movie, even though it's indirectly raunchy. Like, the characters in the movie of Joyride, they're not sitting there to get their second virginities taken in their travels, or they're not going to travel China or other parts of Asia to score with Chinamen or Asian men for the first time. It's all anything to do that is raunchy to the movie. It's all introduced into the characters' travels by accident. So yeah, Joy Fuck Club. So yeah, Joyride's an alright one. It's a very generic name. I can name a few movies that is already named Joyride, but I think this one steals it, especially for a comedy. Flashback 2.2. There was a scene in the movie that involves a K-pop performance. So they didn't exactly use a K-pop song. What they did was, the director, Adele Lim, wanted to use the song WAP, Wet Ass Pussy. And that song is sung and performed by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. So Adele Lim had to reach out to both of those artists to get their approval to use the song for the movie and incorporate in the sequence, and they both gave it their stamp of approval, and we have a wet ass pussy scene in Joyride.
But they changed the lyrics. I'm almost certain they do change the lyrics.
I don't know, Dave. I've never heard the song Wet Ass Pussy.
Oh, you need to get on that. As soon as we finish recording, you need to get on that. No, I'm pretty sure they changed some of the lyrics to be a bit more wholesome. I think that they're trying to give off the impression to the security guard that they're a wholesome K-pop group. But no, I'm pretty sure they changed some of the lyrics in it.
Yeah, well, I thought that was an interesting incorporation, especially for when the scene called for it. But David, that's all the flashbacks I have for Joyride. So without further ado, Laura, give a whack at that jingle and let us move on to discuss Joyride. Good on you, Laura. You can kindly leave the room now.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. Thanks very much.
David, so me and you saw Joyride. Sort of a last second decision. I would say we were going to see it, but we decided on an earlier screening. And I remember watching the trailer for this, and damn, this looks good. And I remember you watched the trailer, and you turned to me, and what did you say?
Yeah, I think we were seeing Insidious, and it played. And normally you don't get the comedy movie trailers before a scary movie, but it played anyway. And I turned to you and I went, that actually looks pretty funny. And not normally would I do that, so it kind of was on my radar only from then when the trailer came out there with Insidious. So, like you said there, we went. It was nearly kind of a last minute thing. We weren't planning to do an episode on it. We weren't planning to even see it together. But you text me and said, hey, I'm seeing this later today. If you want to join, I'm like, I can do 20 minutes from now if you can come and see it. And we went and we saw it, and we had a right out laugh. We had a great time. I was surprised at how funny it actually was.
I really like and appreciate this movie stars 4 Asian women. Some of them not all that well known. I know of Ashley Park. I know Sherry Cola from this TV show I used to watch that was a spin-off from another TV show that I did watch. Mm-hmm. I never heard of Sabrina Wu, who plays Deadeye. But Stephanie Hsu. Yeah. We all know her.
We had her picked for
Oscar nominee.
We had her picked for her Oscar win, but I think, who was it? Jamie Lee Curtis that got it instead?
Correct.
Yeah.
Stephanie Hsu. Hsu or Hsu?
Hsu.
How do you pronounce it?
Hsu.
Yeah, I thought this movie was quite good, and it was a nice balance with the leader, the best friend, let's say, the most raunchiest of the four, and the weird one with a lot more depth than meets the eye.
Yeah, it's a very like formulaic group. Like you've definitely seen this group of characters in The Inbetweeners or The Hangover or Superbad or something like that. Like, you know, you definitely do have the kind of straight edged one, the one that's obsessed with sex, the one that's, you know, just as bad as the one who's obsessed with sex, but like puts on a certain front for it.
Reckless, I would say.
Reckless, yeah. And then you have the Neils, the Allens, the one that's really there for the comic relief, you know, to just say the most random, crazy stuff.
I think it took me a minute to warm up to Deadeye. I thought, okay, it's a bit obnoxious, just cutting to the next shot where she's yelling something weird or random or strange. But I think over the course of the movie, I actually warmed up to her. But I thought she was actually not the most funniest. I think Stephanie Hsu was the funniest. And I thought Sherry Cola and Ashley Park were quite funny in this as well. But I liked them all equally. I would love a sequel. I thought this movie was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Like I think The Hangover did one thing when it came out, you know, like especially for the concept that it is. But I like with Joyride, you know, it's a road trip in Asia, and it's being focusing on Asian women and being sex positive, and involving a story about finding your birth mother and being adopted. I really liked it. I thought that I really did hate now. I got really passionate about the fact that the American drug dealer drugged them all, made them hide drugs within their bodies and then consume it, only for them to frame them and get them kicked off and steal their passports. I was waiting for a scene where Stephanie Hsu would see her again and beat the absolute mother effing shit out of her. But we didn't get that.
You felt bad for the girls. Yeah, I did too. I saw it coming though when they said, she's like, okay, I've got the passports. And she's like, put it in my bag. It's fine. I'm like, okay, so they're losing their luggage. Absolutely. There's no chance of that not happening.
Foreshadowing 101.
Yeah. But then like
100%.
That whole scene was hilarious then after that. As soon as the girls had to all take the drugs, I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, Deadeye saying I'm not ready for sex, and then Ashley Park just biting the condom to full of cocaine, and then Stephanie Hugh really committed to that scene, just hiding like 7 or 8 bags up inside her, and then they react, and then cut to the law enforcement opening the carriage of where they're staying in the train, and you're just watching them all sitting there, wearing hats, sitting up straight, wearing sunglasses,
Perfectly good girls, no problem.
Yeah, I just thought that was so funny, and I was just waiting for something to burst out. Like I don't know, something like Deadeye was like, we're hiding drugs, we're all high. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, things like that. Like the next funny scene was, I think, when the girls were all like getting a hole, having a good time in the night of. Ashley Park having a threesome, Stephanie Hugh having sex by not having sex, Sherry Cola, she's having a good random night, and Deadeye having a dance off.
Yeah, like, you have to give it to the girls, like the actresses in question. Like, this movie, they definitely are put in some awful situations. Like, there's just like, shameless situations where Ashley Park is having the threesome and she accidentally calls the boss, and like she's like fully naked, or Stephanie Hsu, who's using one of those massage guns on a basketball between her and her ex-lover. They're put in some terrible situations, and fair play to them for going with it.
And the K-pop scene where they pose as Korean K-pop group.
Oh my god, yeah.
They have to convince the security guard that they're allowed to board the jet. So what did they do? Online fans of Deadeye get them to perform a song, and there's like a little musical number. They just, to us as an audience, we're watching like a music video, but in real life they're just dancing and singing. And yeah, part of the dress Stephanie Hugh rips off, and you see the lower half of her body, and a joke that was pitched and foreshadowed and brought up a few times. You didn't think it was gonna pay off, and it paid off in substantial size. Like
it was really unexpected.
You get a frontal nude shot of what I'm gonna assume is a body double, because there was a recurring joke that she has a tattoo where her genitalia is, and I think at one point they said, oh, it's a sunflower or something like that. No, it's the face of the devil.
Yeah. It really caught us by surprise. Like, I think we were playing along or we were watching along anyway, and then as soon as that kind of happened, because it doesn't show it straight away, it shows her face, and she's like, what? And as soon as it cut down to her lower half, like, I remember I audibly said it, like, I was like, Jesus Christ. And I kind of looked away for a second, and you as well, you were like laughing in your seat, and like there was a lot of like laugh out loud moments, and that was one definitely.
Like, the commitment they had for this movie, like 10 out of 10, like it was all for it. And then to shy away from the humor, the drama, all like, this was an unintentional journey of Ashley Park finding her birth mother, and what only to hit us over the head with a rock and rip our hearts out. She died a few years ago, and not only that, she's not Chinese, she's Korean, and Ashley Park is Korean in real life. So okay, interesting. And we're seeing different Asian cultures, Asian ethnicities, like the Chinese, because they thought she was Chinese, but when she learns she's Korean, you cut to another shot to them later, and they're all angry at her because like, I knew she wasn't Chinese, and I want my dress back, and like, at least he's not Japanese, and I thought that scene was quite funny. It's good to see that everyone can have a bit of a laugh in this, not just white people looking at this. Like, it's good for everyone to be inclusive. In fact, the scene after they consumed all the drugs, they're kicked off the train, and the girls are accusing Ashley Park that she's racist because she hasn't slept with any Asian men before, and she says she used to masturbate to Master Splinter, he's Asian. They say, well, he's a rat, and she defends herself very proudly, saying he's a good father. So there's your connection for doing a review on these two movies. But we need more movies like this, and then we get a really beautiful scene where Ashley Park's character, she doesn't get to meet her birth mother, but she does get to meet the husband of her birth mother, and he gets to, show her. This is a very real thing where you get to be told of. You get to be someone you meet tells you all about a person who is related to you, but you never got to meet them. So think of it in a way as simple as meeting a sibling of a grandparent that you never got to meet, and you have all these questions about what the grandparent was like, and then you get the sibling to tell you all about it, and then you then form and bond a relationship with that sibling, like she does with Daniel Day-Kim's character. So I thought that was really nice and beautiful. And then everyone after their breakup, they have their makeup and another road trip in Paris and on again. Like, I really love this movie, David.
I could definitely see them doing another one. Like, I'd be happy to see another one as well. They kind of set it up in that way, like you said there, like, oh, it's our annual trip, and we go on a trip away together. And I'd be happy to see that. And the fact that it wasn't specifically, like, it could be anything. They could just be going on a trip and hilarity ensues, like, oh, this thing go wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's no specific, they have to follow this or they have to do this next. It could be anything. And I'd be happy to see them to go at it again.
Yeah. I think this might be the best comedy of the year. I would only compare this movie to another movie I saw this year, which was also a comedy starring Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings. I thought that was a very good, of course, Western, but original movie with a very interesting storyline where the raunchy character is the girl who is like 10 years older than the young boy who's like is a real romantic. And obviously he's not a frat boy or anything. That's a whole nother movie that I would also recommend watching. That's a real good double feature. No Hard Feelings and Joyride. I think maybe I'd be quicker to watch Joyride than I would with No Hard Feelings, but I definitely watch the two of them again.
Yeah,
they're so good.
See, we've kind of moved away from those kind of the raunchy comedies, especially them releasing in cinemas. You might get them on Netflix or you might get them on, Amazon or whatever, but you definitely don't get them in cinemas anymore. So to have a double feature this year is great. And then to also, it's flipping them on their head, I suppose, that both of them are starring female leads. So you're getting a new take on the genre completely. And I think it was really refreshing. I didn't see No Hard Feelings, but I know you did, and I know Laura did. I know she's away from the room now. We told her to go, but she saw it as well. She really enjoyed it. You really enjoyed it. So I look forward to seeing it now as well. It's not playing in cinemas anymore, unfortunately.
I want more raunchy comedy starring female characters that deals with themes both dramatic or humorous, about sexuality, about sex life, about being just sex positive. Like it's okay. Yeah, water wet. Women like sex too.
What?
Like. So I think it's really good. We got very lucky this year when it comes to those two comedies.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're listening to this, I definitely recommend Joyride. It's a fantastic movie. Like, I know I gave it 4 stars. I gave Oppenheimer 4 stars, but that's just how I feel when I watched them. A damn good time. Of course, formulaic, but Jesus, yeah, very good, David.
You will get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, David, I have a third movie to give a review on.
Hardly. This is a surprise to me.
Yeah, David. Yeah, folks. This isn't exactly a double feature. This is a triple feature review.
Oh, I know what you're gonna do now. Jesus Christ, go for it.
Yeah. The third movie on tonight's episode is The Meg 2: The Trench. David, this movie is shite.
End of review.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Good luck. Don't watch it. Don't watch the Meg. Don't watch The Meg 2: The Trench. Shite. Awful. The first one's way better.
Okay. I haven't seen either.
Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, don't see the good one.
Yeah, that's I suppose your anti-review or your anti-recommendation for this episode more so. Do you have a recommendation other than Joyride that we obviously talked in depth about, but another one like we normally do with our recommendations?
No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings? Great one. Great choice. I haven't seen it, but
I recommend
it's a good double feature, I suppose.
I'd recommend No Hard Feelings instantly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. How about yourself?
I would recommend Barbarian. I watched it this week. I would say if you're going to watch it, just go and watch it. Don't look up anything about it. It's on Disney Plus. Just go watch it. I'll say that I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. And I think the movie definitely benefited from that. The most I knew about it was when that trailer came out that said Justin Long's new film. And that was it. It wasn't even like titled Barbarian. It was just Justin Long's new film. So I'd recommend you go watch that, Barbarian.
Without giving anything away, David, what did you think?
I audibly said out loud, "What the fuck?"
Good enough.
Yeah,
good enough.
That's all I'll say. But just before we wrap up the episode, we did say at the beginning question, which was that we need to get answered as well, is that if you could dip your toes into a franchise, if you could be, a producer, a writer, or whatever on a franchise, what would you like to be a part of? Something that you're passionate about, that you have a real love for, that you would like to do right by.
What would I like to do? Would I have to write it, or would I just have to ensure it gets made?
You can do whatever you want to it. You can give yourself any role.
A legacy sequel of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Interesting. That's an interesting one. I would not have. I'm surprised by that. I was going to say I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting you to say it. I would expect you to say it because I know you love that movie. But I was just surprised. I thought you would go with a bit more of an established franchise, I suppose. Something that had a bit more to it.
Yeah, I definitely want a new movie of that, and I wouldn't go about changing it all that much. I would still have it set in the Arctic. I would still have it themed exactly what it is. A bunch of workers, 12 months at let's say an oil station or some sort of station, and there's an alien that imitates you and no one knows who it is or what it is. Mm-hmm. And there comes a point in the movies where there's like a scene where they do a test on each other to see who's human and who's the thing. And in both movies, the John Carpenter's one and the prequel, they both established to do a blood test scene, but the blood test equipment gets damaged. So in the John Carpenter's one, they pivot to burn everyone's blood in a jar, and the thing reacts to the burn because it's burning it. Mm-hmm. In the prequel, they check their teeth for metal fillings because it can't imitate that. So if someone has a metal filling, it means you're not the thing. If you have metal fillings, you're not the thing. If you don't have fillings, it means you're probably the thing. So there's your suspects. What I would love to do in this movie, just a scene, I would actually to film the blood test scene, because the blood test scene has never been done, and I think that scene would be carried out slowly. You get the two glass pieces and push it together, look through the magnifying glass, and you're looking through the telescope to see what's happening to the blood. Mm-hmm. And if you see something's not right, you're just going to look over to the person who blood that is, and you're going to think, fuck, that's the thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, whether I could get Kurt Russell or Keith David back, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be, if you could get either of them back, you'd be answering a question. You'd be answering a very old question, but that would be good. I'll be there day one. I'll see that movie if you make that.
Just also add on it, there was a piece of blood that got away as well in the movie, and that we never saw what happened. So what I would do to start opening the movie, you would see the overlay of the music, dun 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 dun, mm-hmm. And then you'd be cutting from the credits to footage of the original movie, surmising the events of the John Carpenter version, and you're seeing, oh, okay, so the blood got away, and then we're seeing how I would have the movie shot, the blood getting away, and I don't know, finding life somewhere. Anyway, that me just talking about this for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how much passionate I am for
There you go.
the Thing franchise,
Yeah.
and I want a new one badly.
For me personally, I think I would. I'd love to actually write for Doctor Who. I think.
No way.
Yeah, I'd actually love it. I'd love to do kind of like a, like if it was like a dream, role like we're saying there, you get to do it. I'd love to be like head writer on it, and I'd love to start with a brand new iteration of the Doctor and just like work with them, throughout their run and work with them from start to finish, and then leave when they leave. I think that'd be good.
A TV show or a movie?
TV. I'd keep it in the medium
Okay.
that it is. I think that it works best in TV form. So, I'd like to do that.
Would you like to continue it from where, let's say, the next one ends off, or would you like to sort of have it be like a bonus story episode, maybe an Elseworld or something like that?
No, I'd continue. I'd just like to kind of like slot in. Like obviously, the Doctor now is David Tennant, and then soon it'll be Ncuti Gatwa. But
Would you
then,
like to continue after Ncuti Gatwa?
yeah, I would start with whoever's next after him. Just like start with him. A new iteration, a new actor comes in, actor or actress, comes in, and I work with them from day one. And to go throughout their entire run. I'd love to do that.
Have you got any thoughts on who you'd love to cast in it?
No, I think that I wouldn't maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be part of that process. I'd love to just kind of have someone else choose that. Whoever is casting, and meet them and then speak to them, as opposed to have my own image of what the Doctor should be and then, have to kind of form that around someone trying to put that. And if I'm cast in the role, then have someone put that, try to fit what I've made, as opposed to someone come in, I meet them, I get to know them, and then fit the Doctor around them. Write the character to the actor, as opposed to try and fit the actor to the character, if that makes sense.
I'd like to pitch you an actor.
Okay. I'm not actually now the lead writer in Doctor Who, just so you know, so this will go nowhere.
Fantasy, David, fantasy.
Okay.
Henry Golding.
Henry Golding, interesting. Yeah, he wouldn't have been top of my leaderboard, I suppose, but Henry Golding would be good. He'd be the first Asian American Doctor.
He's got an English accent, doesn't he?
He does have an English accent. Is he even Asian American? I don't know. He might be Asian English. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, definitely that would be one to consider. If you cast it for me, I'll write it for him. You get talking to him. I'll write it for him, and then we'll be off to the races then.
I'll get right on it, David.
Okay, so I think that wraps up our episode there with TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, and then Joyride. It's been an absolute fucking pleasure talking to you, Brian. Great old chat.
David, I've been enjoying this. Folks, if you've enjoyed this episode, please, by all means, give us 5 stars. Give us a like. Costs you nothing. It gives us everything. We love talking about movies and TV and all sorts of projects. If you like listening to us talk about it, please hit that subscribe button. We are not just on Spotify, we are on all choices of any podcasts in the app. We are on Instagram at Talking Pictures Pod. Our email is talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. If you have any queries or questions or suggestions or thoughts, please send us in. We won't be able to get to them all, but we'll be sure to get to yours. David, any final thoughts?
You've hit the nail on the head there, Brian. You've absolutely done outstanding work there in wrapping up the episode. If you have any productions that you'd like to dip your toes into, like we were saying there, I want to do Doctor Who. Brian would love to do something on the Thing. If there's any productions that you'd love to be part of, let us know in the comments below or send it in, and we'll love to read your email out on not the next episode, in a future episode. But yeah, thanks, Brian.
David, pleasure.